A very warm welcome, and yet again we meet on another edition of the Spotlight, bringing to you a story that ignites change. Now today we have with us in our studios Mr. Rob Hill, the CEO of Autogroup International, joining us today for a very insightful discussion. Thank you for joining us today and being here.
Thank you so much for the invitation. It's very exciting.
How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm busy. I'm incredibly excited to be here. It's a great honour.
Brilliant. So Autogroup International, Rob, you are the CEO of this amazing company doing wonderful things here in Sri Lanka.
Absolutely.
I think our viewers would like to know, what is this company all about?
Most definitely. So the Autogroup is, well, in fact, we've been here for 21 years. So it's in fact yesterday. In Sri Lanka. So yesterday was our 21st, or the day before, was our 21st birthday of being a foreign investor-owned BOI company, which is quite incredible. But what we do, and what we've done for 2 decades, is we convert American vehicles from left-hand drive to right-hand drive. So we get vehicles from North America, we ship them to Sri Lanka. My incredible team, we've got 185 people, they convert them from left-hand drive to right-hand drive, and then we re-export them across the world to about 40 countries.
Right. So from what I heard, the people working under you, you provide them with an opportunity for Sri Lankans to work under you. So that is a very good thing, and it's lovely to know that there is a lot of scope, especially for the Sri Lankans in this arena.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on this?
Well, look, it's pretty cool in the sense that our workforce is 99.98% Sri Lankan. I'm the only non-Sri Lankan at Autogroup. Well, other than my dad, who started the business and is now sort of in semi-retirement. But yes, so what we do, and we are the world's best at what we do. We have customers right around the world who send cars from America to here, have us convert them and ship them across the world. It is a Sri Lankan workforce, and for me, what we do at Autogroup is a perfect example of what Sri Lanka is capable of, because we're not just putting bits together. We've got a team of 30-odd engineers, some of the brightest
Sri Lankan engineers.
All Sri Lankan, absolutely. And I guess when we sort of describe converting a vehicle from left-hand drive to right-hand drive, obviously we move the steering wheel across, but there are about 500 parts that we need to change or transform. Now, you can't buy those parts off the shelf, you can't order them from eBay. They have to be designed by our engineering team and then manufactured, and we manufacture a lot of them here ourselves. That's why we have 185 people. We've also got around 60 or 70 Sri Lankan suppliers. So suppliers like Zenith Engineering, who do quite a key piece of our steering system. So we have 70 odd suppliers locally, and we are doing incredibly advanced automotive manufacturing, but all Sri Lankan. And we often talk about, we're not the best in Sri Lanka, we're the best in the world at what we do. And it is pure Sri Lankan talent and passion. It's unbelievable.
Yes. Now, when the company started 21 years ago from your father's vision, do you think he, thought about how far this company would go, starting here, the pearl of the Indian Ocean, as we call it?
Absolutely. It's I don't think so. My dad has always been a visionary and indeed an entrepreneur. We were fortunate that we've had Sri Lankan friends for decades and decades and decades. So 20 odd years ago, it was the most logical decision, at least to our family, that we would sort of expand our Australian business and take it to Sri Lanka. And it's something that we've had challenges and issues, but then that's the reality. But I think he is immensely proud. In fact, earlier in the week for our birthday, we launched 2 of our new vehicles, and Dad came out, and the pride both that you could see emanating from him, but also the pride from our team. And we have lots of young men and women who work for us, a lot of university graduates who come to us because of what we do. Equally, we have a number of team members that have worked for us for 21 years. So it's kind of cool when I don't know if I should say the old boys, but I include my father in that, when they sort of come together in those moments of new vehicles that we've created and converted. It's a beautiful thing. It's his life's work.
Right. Now, the 2024 GMC Hummer EV.
Yes.
In right-hand drive. I believe
You've got to know, you were right on there, absolutely.
Let's talk about, an overview of this.
Absolutely.
Rob.
So the Hummer is the classic American big Arnold Schwarzenegger style 4-wheel drive, iconic. And in fact, back in the mid-2000s, we were converting hundreds of those here from left-hand drive to right-hand drive, and then they disappeared from the world for 15 years.
Why is that?
Well, because they were great big monstrous vehicles that weren't very fuel efficient, and they had their time. But now in the last couple of years they've come back as an EV, so they are massive. They've got, they're very quick. They do 0 to 100 kilometres an hour in 3.5 seconds. They weigh 4,000 odd kilograms, so as much as a pretty large elephant. But there's a huge demand for them. So we have been converting and talking to the media now about our right-hand drive Hummer. And the important thing for me is that it was done here, done by our team.
In Sri Lanka.
In Sri Lanka. Our job is, quite literally our vehicles arrive brand new from North America in a 40-foot shipping container. And our incredible team do their design work, the engineering, the reverse engineering, all of producing all of the components, the production of the vehicle, the testing, the quality control, all of those things. And it is all done here, all Sri Lankan. For me, I find that normal because that's the world in which I live. I'm fortunate that every day I go to work and I have 185 people who inspire me and are talented and are passionate, and but it is super cool.
So basically this vehicle is all made here in Sri Lanka, manufactured and shipped overseas.
It is. So we take the original left-hand drive vehicle, so it comes in here, and what we then manufacture is by moving the steering wheel from the left-hand side to the right-hand side, so it's dashboard assemblies, all of the steering has to change, all the electricals have to change. There's a huge...
It's a huge process.
Hundreds and hundreds of hours. And the big thing is it's incredibly complex engineering and manufacturing and production, but to also do it to a level where the quality is correct. So there are some countries around the world where you can just about import any vehicle that you like because they have very few rules. But a lot of our markets like the United Kingdom or Australia particularly have very, very tough rules. So to convert them is one thing, to convert them so that they're safe and legal to import into all the countries we export to is another thing. And it is, I say this all the time, it's a perfect example of the firepower of a group of Sri Lankans. It's inspiring.
Definitely. Is there any reason as to why we don't sell these in Sri Lanka?
Look, there is. So, obviously for the last 2 or 3 years since the economic crisis, which we all lived through, the government took the decision to ban the import of vehicles, which is, I support completely. It was the most sensible thing to do to try and protect the country and protect foreign exchange. But we're a board of investment business and have been for 21 years, but part of our agreement is that we can sell a percentage of our vehicles in Sri Lanka. So once the government changes its rules, which hopefully they'll do when the economic conditions allow it, then absolutely we will be able to sell our vehicles locally.
Now, how does this vehicle, the Hummer EV, how does this sort of commit to innovation and luxury in the market?
Look, I think it's in a couple of different ways. Certainly when it comes to working with EV vehicles, it's relatively new for us, or indeed, for 20 years, or in fact we're a 31-year-old business. We've been converting petrol or diesel engine vehicles, but over the last 2 years we've been moving more and more to EV. So there's what they call it the Ford F-150 Lightning, which is an EV pickup truck. We did the first one of those probably 18 months ago, first on the planet, and now the Hummer. So there is definitely a trend that we see coming of more and more of the American vehicles that we convert being EV. So the Hummer's very exciting, but there are other vehicles that are coming towards us that will be the same.
Now, what makes this vehicle different to another vehicle?
Well, I guess in a way nothing other. Well, it's EV, which is one thing.
Yes.
They're just kind of super cool. They're iconic. We convert hundreds and hundreds of vehicles. We convert 50 different models of vehicles. So our workforce is incredibly adaptable, from the classic American muscle cars, sort of the fast and furious sort of things, or pickup trucks. But the Hummer has just got, I don't know, there's a reference point in pop culture that people see it, and well, whether they like it or hate it, but it's one of those things that everybody loves to look at, and it's pretty cool.
For a month, let's talk in an average format.
Yes.
Around how many vehicles do you all sort of convert in a month?
You look at ranges anywhere from probably 10 to 20 vehicles a month, so it very much, it depends on where our customers are, what they're looking for, etc. But there has been and always is a constant stream of vehicles on the water being shipped here, because it's a sort of a 6 to 8 week journey from North America to Sri Lanka. So there are always a lot of vehicles on the water, vehicles in our facility. I mean, today we would have, I don't know, 25 or 30 vehicles in our facility in Kadwala. And then, so it's just kind of this constant stream of vehicles coming in, our team's doing the conversion work, and then putting them back in a container and sending them off to customers around the planet.
Brilliant. Now let's talk about the process. How does it start? How does it end?
Absolutely. It's and my team who might be watching this or will watch it afterwards will probably hate me for butchering the description, but for us it definitely starts with our engineering team. So ultimately we're talking about a motor vehicle, a vehicle that's going to carry your family or my family, and you're going to be on an expressway doing 100 kilometres an hour, and we're doing open heart surgery. I mean, we're moving the steering wheel from this side to this side, adjusting the steering mechanisms, the dashboard, safety systems, etc. So that's where our team of 30 plus mechanical and electrical engineers come into play. So they go through working with our production team to understand the vehicles, to reverse engineer all of the components that we need to remanufacture. And then our production crew, who are hugely experienced, work alongside them, and we then build out our conversion. The important thing for us is that it has to be repeatable. So we're not a business that does ones of things. We will over the next 12 months probably do 50 or 100 Hummers, because there's demands in Indonesia or Malaysia or parts of Africa, all over the world. So these first ones that are rolling out now and have been rolling out, they will just continue to grow as market demand comes.
Now during the conversion process it would have not been easy.
No.
And I'm sure you all encountered some challenges. Are there any that sort of stand out?
It's not so much the challenges, and I'll give you a great example. So with the Hummer, it's what we do, and I'm incredibly fortunate that the depth of knowledge and experience, and indeed the passion of my team, they're magicians. It is a beautiful thing for me to be a part of. But for me, it's the obsessive detail that they work towards. And I'll give you a good example. So one of the things that you don't need to do, but our team did, was to move the volume control because if you're normally in the left-hand side of the vehicle, the volume control's on the edge of the screen. We moved it, because we're moving the steering wheel, across to the right-hand side of the screen. Just because when you're sitting over here, it makes sense for you to be able to change the volume. But that was an exercise of our engineers and our production teams just using their brilliance. They didn't need to do it, but they could, and it was perfect. So they're the things that I love to see, and that our team just being brilliant.
How do you all ensure quality and standards in your work?
Look, that is the most critical element. So across our quality control and our ISO, so we have ISO 9000, 2015, we've got a team of sort of 15 or 18 people who focus on quality. So we are obsessed. I think it's fair to say it's in our DNA. So, and again, it's that, I guess, moral responsibility of ensuring that the motor vehicle is safe, also a legal obligation, and also a technical compliance. I mean, the vehicles, for them to go into our key markets, you can't do it in a back shed and hope for the best. So we have a large, talented, passionate team across our quality control and our quality assurance processes that make sure every vehicle is perfect. And I guess the thing to remember is that, very few, or indeed most of our vehicles end up with customers that are thousands and thousands of kilometres away. So we don't work in a world that if we do something wrong, that I can pop over to Colombo 3 and fix something. If there's a problem, these cars are in Australia, or they're in Indonesia, or they're in South Africa, or the United Kingdom. So that quality control process for us is absolutely key.
When you all established your company here in Sri Lanka 21 years ago, what was the reason? Why Sri Lanka? Out of all the countries.
Out of all the countries, yeah. So and look, it was my father's call and an insightful one. I think it was aided. We've had lifelong Sri Lankan friends, so it was easy. I guess from a economics perspective, or indeed a geography perspective, Sri Lanka vaguely on a map is sort of halfway between North America, where we source our vehicles from, and then a lot of our destination countries, Australia into Africa.
Strategic.
Sort of halfway,
Yeah.
vaguely, but yes, so there is a strategic element there. And again, I think the probably the decision point over why here and not Indonesia or Malaysia or India or Thailand, all sensible options, are the people, the culture, the sense of community. That is something that we knew as a family, and certainly the thing that's been proven out over the last 20 odd years is that sense of, again, the community, the pride, the can-do attitude that Sri Lankans have is unbelievable.
And I would like to get into another key element, Rob. The vehicles that go out of Sri Lanka, the money comes back into the country.
Yes.
I think it would be nice if you could explain to us, how does this boost our economy?
Most definitely. So, I mean, we're an Australian-owned company. We're a board of investment company. We live here. My dad has lived here for years and years. We have Sri Lankan family. My dad is married to a Sri Lankan. So all of the revenue that we earn comes to our Sri Lankan business. So we contribute to the Sri Lankan economy by bringing in US dollars. So all of the vehicle conversions that we do, we get paid in US dollars, and it all comes to Sri Lanka. So we were very popular with the banks during the economic crisis, because we were one of the few companies that was earning US dollars and bringing it in. So there is that top line element. We pay taxes in Sri Lanka. We have 185 staff who get paid their salaries every month. We have 60 or 70 local suppliers and some big key partners. Zenith Engineering is one example of a brilliant engineering company, world class. They're not just best in Sri Lanka, they are truly incredible. But all the way down to, with 180 odd people, there are 3 ladies who live very close to our factory who make lunch packets for a lot of our team. So for me, the impact we have is from the US dollars coming in, but also the money being spent through our suppliers or down to our boys every day going getting their lunch packet. From 3 local mums who provide that service. So it's pretty profound. And I think so there's an economic contribution. I think there's a contribution in that we are maybe a good example of what a successful and good foreign investor can do. We are quite recognised at a global level. I get calls multiple times a month from other foreign investors, not to necessarily get an official overview of Sri Lanka, but a call in to go, Rob, what's it actually like? So in a way, we sort of like to think that we play a role to promote Sri Lanka as a place that other foreign investors can come and thrive and indeed contribute. So there's lots of ways I think that we contribute. I think the final piece, and I know it was a very short question and a very long answer from me.
No, that's fine.
But the other part for me is the opportunities that we give our staff. And yes, people are paid well and they're looked after, but whether it's our engineering team or indeed our production crew or our quality people or our safety people or procurement, we're providing with an opportunity to work in a global world-class business here. And we recognise that we have a number of employees who have been with us for 2 decades, but I also recognise that particularly a lot of our engineers, they will come to us after university, and our job is to train them and give them the next 2, 3, 4 years of industry experience, give them some incredibly challenging projects, and then look, a lot of them do stick around, but we also equally understand when those people then leave the nest and whether they move overseas or somewhere else. But I think that's a very big contribution, that we're actually able to give people experience on brand new motor vehicles. So in converting the Hummer from left-hand drive to right-hand drive, that took some pretty serious engineering and some of our incredibly smart crew to be able to do that safely.
Yeah.
And I think that's a discrete but a very important benefit.
This is actually a brilliant story, because I would also want to ask you, when we talk about Sri Lanka, most often we talk about exports: tea, rubber, coconut,
Yes.
Gems. Automotive is sometimes never on the list when we talk about Sri Lanka.
No.
But for the past 21 years, we have been making an impact
Very
in the
much so.
automotive industry,
Yes.
which is brilliant.
Yes, it is, yeah.
From a global perspective, Rob, where does Sri Lanka stand in the automotive world?
Well, look, you know, in so many ways, it's, and I don't mean to be offensive at all, probably not on the map,
Yes,
is to be fair.
there is
you
room
know.
for improvement.
Look, there is, and you know, we're quite niche at what we do. I mean, we serve a very specific purpose, converting vehicles from left-hand drive to right-hand drive, and it is extraordinarily complex. But there is definitely opportunities in Sri Lanka in automotive, would be my belief. And again, having worked across the world and worked in different industries, the unique element in the workforce here is its people, the culture, the sense of community or village, the sense of pride. I've never seen that or to the same level in teams that I've had and run in Australia or the UK or Europe or North America. It's a magical, and I don't know how Sri Lanka can tell the world about that. For me, I think we've found sort of some magical secret, but that's actually the profound opportunity and benefit that I think Sri Lanka has in the world market, whether it's in automotive or elsewhere.
What more, before we head into our first break, what more can we do to bring Sri Lanka onto the global market and to bring Sri Lanka onto the map?
Look, I think it's the job of government, of the, you know, the BOI, etc., all of those normal areas. But I think it's also part of our responsibility. We have quite a big social media presence. To give you an idea, this week alone, our Hummer video has been seen by 1 million people across the planet. And we are not shy about being in Sri Lanka. You know, it's not something that we try and disguise or anything. We are loud and proud. This is where we are. This is why we do it. So I think it is people like us who have a global presence, and we're fortunate. You know, cars are kind of attractive to you. They're a thing. They're attractive. You either like them or you hate them, but there is a thing for it. But I think it's our job, in a way, to help try and serve the country, to show the world that look at what we can do here.
All right, brilliant. So it's time we head into our first break today. Remain with us and we will be back. Welcome back to the show this evening, and we are in conversation with Rob Hill. It's a very insightful discussion, and the fact that a foreign national is making an impact here in Sri Lanka is beyond amazing. So that is actually, praiseworthy, and you're doing so much for the economy here in Sri Lanka, driving it and boosting it up, which is what the country needs.
We try. I mean, look, be under note. I mean, we're not a $1 billion business at all. We are a relatively big business. We're a successful organisation, but the key for us is to do our bit. And it's interesting. Yes, technically we're a foreign investor. Technically, I'm here on a BOI visa, but this is where we live. This is our home. And
you would consider Sri Lanka your home?
Oh yes. Yeah. I mean, I say this to people all the time. I mean, I have an Australian passport, so I can live in Australia. I have permanent residence in the UK. I have a house there. I can live there. I choose to be here. And don't tell anybody, but I don't want to go back to Australia. Heaven, no! This is by choice.
Yeah.
And even at a corporate level, we have the opportunity to build more factories in other countries, India or Malaysia, etc. But this is our home. This is where we are. This is where our team are. It's kind of our job to protect our business as an investor, but also to protect our team. We refer to it as, we shorten Autogroup International, which is quite a mouthful, to AGI, but we talk a lot about our AGI family. And that's what it is. We have our own little world that we do quite amazing things, and we just sort of...
Quite amazing might be an understatement.
It's pretty cool.
So let's say an individual is wanting to join your company here in Sri Lanka. What sort of opportunities do you all offer?
Well, look, I mean, we're hiring, 10 or 11 people today at the moment.
Can I join?
Yeah, of course you can. Yeah. You've got to be cool. And you pass. So look, we're hiring people, and it ranges across the business. So certainly electrical and mechanical engineers, we're constantly hiring. Young, bright, talented, or even old, bright and talented doesn't matter. But we're certainly, from an engineering perspective, we're always growing. But then through production, so whether it's welding or electricians or fiberglass or plastics or our, all of those sorts of divisions rolling through, we're always expanding our digital marketing team. So we're in a business that's in a high growth mode, which is fantastic, and we continue to hire. So there's plenty of opportunities.
Brilliant. Now, how does the company engage in community service and sustainable initiatives through y'all's operations?
Absolutely. So the community side of things, we do a lot of work in the supporting our community. We don't talk about it a lot because it's not the reason that we do it. We know, our team knows,
that's more than enough.
And that's all that matters. But we take it very seriously, our commitment to the community. And there are some big things that we support. So I'll give you one that I will talk about. So We Care is an incredible charity down on the south coast that looks after predominantly street dogs. So we provide a lot of support to We Care. It's a wonderful, beautiful initiative. It's unbelievably cool. But we do a lot of other things locally, but we just don't talk about it. Again, my team, our family, we know what we do, and we try and do the right thing, and I think we do. It's quite fulfilling. From a sustainability perspective, we are very focused on it. So, in the terms of trying to reduce and indeed recycle. So whether it's trying to reduce, our impact on Earth, whether it's recycling our plastic and fiberglass, reducing our energy consumption. So for us, and I guess one of the beliefs that I have and that we're pushing into the business is the sense that people, the planet and profit are equally important. So a lot of corporates, a lot of businesses, it's all about the profit line, the bottom line. It doesn't matter what damage is done to people or indeed the planet to get to that profit number. I guess philosophically, I'm different. For me, people, planet and indeed profit are equally important. And that's how we operate. So I know my senior leadership team sometimes scratches their head to wonder why I do certain things, but for me it's just that moral compass of making sure I won't sacrifice profit over the welfare of our people or indeed our community and indeed our impact on the planet.
Now, just coming back to another question, we were talking about hiring individuals in case they want to join the company. Education also plays a huge factor, Rob.
It does.
And do you believe that students, especially in Sri Lanka, there are a lot of conversations going that education regarding vehicles, the automotive industry should be included into the education curriculum here in Sri Lanka. Do you agree with that?
Look, I think so. I think that the curriculum needs to be providing the students educated to a point that industry requires. And if there is a strategic direction to build more of an automotive manufacturing environment, then clearly the universities or indeed the trade schools need to respond. That said, we hire lots of people out of all of the universities from an engineering perspective, but equally we hire a lot of people out of Japan Tech and those sorts of technical colleges that are coming through with welding or electricians and those sorts of skill sets. So we're sort of hiring very actively across all tertiary style education facilities. And we're in a way a bit lucky because we have a bit of a profile. We kind of do pretty cool things with cars. So we typically don't struggle attracting people to come and work for us. And we're a bit different. We're a 99.9% Sri Lankan workforce, but we operate in our own little way of blending the amazing things of a Sri Lankan business, but also maybe some global practices and some crazy ideas that I bring to the table. So we're lucky that we do tend to attract bright, eager people. I can't say many years ago, maybe about 1.5 to 2 years ago, we saw an incident where there was an accident and there were no airbags in the vehicle. Yes.
Airbags failed. So basically I'm coming down to the word safety.
Yes.
Both for the passenger and for the driver.
Indeed.
We can talk a little bit about how y'all ensure safety for the driver and the passenger.
Most definitely. So all the vehicles that we bring in already have all of those safety features in that all the airbags, all of the technology, because you are talking about, high-end, quite expensive vehicles. There is a fair amount of engineering and production skill to ensure that when we move the steering wheel from left-hand drive to right-hand drive, that all of those things still work. And again, working towards the government compliance levels ensures that our vehicles are safe. So we've converted 4,500 vehicles over our 30 years in business and never had an accident caused by any of the work that we've done, which is an incredible safety record. But there are certainly vehicles in this country that don't necessarily have those safety standards or the airbags, and we've all been in Ubers or Pick-me's that you think, oops, let's just hold on and hope.
So hoping that this sort of changes, because safety is pivotal for anyone using a vehicle in any form of
very much so
while commuting. So let's talk about the future plans that you all have in mind in addition to the Hummer EV.
Absolutely. Look, there's one thing that we've just launched this week, which is I'm incredibly proud about. It's a vehicle that we call the CEO. Right. And what it is, so it's a GMC Yukon Denali, so it's a big American SUV. It's a sort of the big black SUVs that you see in all the American, police or FBI shows. Proper American big SUV. Now we've been converting those from left-hand drive to right-hand drive for years. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them, ship them all around the world, and we're incredibly well known for them. The CEO takes that same vehicle, the big SUV, and again, my incredible team, this is bonkers. So a brand new vehicle, we cut the roof off it, cut a great big hole in the roof, and then we lifted the roof up 6 inches, so to give more headroom in the back of it. We then created a privacy partition. So normally you would have the driver's seat and the passenger seat at the front, and then 2 seats in the middle row and 3 at the back. We ripped out the 5 seats at the back of the SUV, threw them away. We didn't actually throw them away, but took them out of the vehicle. We put a privacy partition between the drivers, the 2 front seats, and the rear cabin. And then our team built 2 incredible kind of, first class VIP, big reclining seats. So these are designed for CEOs, celebrities, rock stars, Bollywood stars, whatever it happens to be. But what we've created is a private cabin within the vehicle. So you can imagine you and I sitting together in the back of the car. There's a privacy partition. You press a button, the TV slides down so you can talk to your driver to tell them to stop it wherever to get some lunch or pull over. Hit the other button, the screen goes back up again. It is phenomenal.
So just to reconfirm, all of this has been done by Sri Lankans?
Oh, absolutely. It's starting to come into the media, and it will be out in the coming days, but it is stunning. Absolutely.
I don't doubt that
stunning.
for a second.
I mean, even down to, and I genuinely love the passion of my team. So you can imagine all cars have carpet mats where you put your feet.
Yeah.
And that would be the easy option. And in fact, most people's cars would have, carpet or rubber. Our team, actually, being very proudly Sri Lankan, built a parquetry style teak floor for where you put your feet. Absolutely beautiful, stunning, and just demonstrating the skill and the prowess of what it is we're able to do here. Now these vehicles, before, they are circa 60 million rupees, $200,000 after we've done our work. So probably the most expensive vehicle, well certainly in our world, that we've ever converted.
Around how much is the vehicle again?
About, in total value, about 60 million rupees, $200,000. Now remembering that...
$200,000?
Yes. Now when that vehicle gets imported into, say, Indonesia as an example, they have very high import duty, so it's a vehicle that probably once it lands in the country is worth $400,000 or $500,000 because they have very high duties. So you can imagine the type of people who buy these vehicles. They are, business leaders, they're politicians, they're heads of state, they're dignitaries. So there is an absolute level of quality that kind of customer demands, and that has been built here by my incredible team. So that I am incredibly proud of. We've taken the vision 6 months ago to go, hang on a second, we could do that. Clearly we do the left-hand drive to right-hand drive conversion, but sitting with, initially a small group, our R&D team and our leadership team, and then the team got bigger and bigger. It is just unbelievable. Genuinely, it is quite spectacular.
Definitely. So what are the future plans you have in mind, something that you hope to start in the future, in the coming years to come?
Certainly. Well, look, for us it's about growth. So we're certainly, this sort of step up to these luxury interiors is a very big change. Our next step is to start producing armoured vehicles. So again, there's a huge demand across the world for the American style vehicles, but in right-hand drive, but also to be armoured. So that's our next big adventure. So we have some pretty cool plans, and it's all about growing our business here in Sri Lanka. We don't need to be in other countries, and certainly our plan could be to be, from being 185 people to 500 or 600 people in the next couple of years. So we have some pretty big plans and dreams.
Of course, now you all hire qualified personnel into your company, but in addition to that, do you all offer in-house training programs to enhance their competitiveness in the industry?
We do, most definitely. And I guess there's two ways. So we always have a lot of placements from a lot of the technical colleges. So we often have, and indeed also we have a lot of engineers coming in doing their internships, which is great for us. But we have a very particular skill set in various people that we need. So we do provide a huge amount of on-the-job training. So our people definitely do come in, and again, whether they're university qualified or indeed whether they've come out of trade schools, or indeed people who have just, however they've developed their skills during their career, there is very much a formal process and that we, I guess, work with to actually help them lift their skills.
Because it's not, we're talking about safety of people here.
Indeed.
Before they actually get hands-on to work with a vehicle,
Yes.
Are they given special training prior?
Oh, very much so. We have a very, very thorough safety team. So yes, we don't allow people on site or to touch anything unless they've gone through all of our safety briefings. Because you're right, for us it's, and whether it's in the conversion of the vehicle that we take safety profoundly seriously, but it's the same thing in our workforce. I mean, I couldn't personally imagine us having a workplace incident that caused a life-changing injury for a person. That would be horrific. So it's something that we don't mess around with. And to be fair, that's probably one of the challenges that I've faced coming in from an international perspective, where there are lots of safety processes or things that I look at, and we don't do them anymore, but there were certainly a number of things which I guess afterwards were slightly comical / horrifying, where you see things, I'm thinking, no, you can't, no, you cannot wear slippers on a roof whilst washing it or whatever. So, but yeah, it is something we take pretty seriously.
Do you all collaborate with any other international companies?
We do to a degree. So we're quite private and secretive in some of the things that we do. It's not a hugely competitive business, but we like to operate efficiently. Yeah. So we're and in a way we're quite fortunate that we don't need to rely on others. So we certainly have some great partnerships locally where we have engineering firms, etc., building specific components for us. But I think a huge part of our success is that we do a lot of the manufacturing and the design of our components ourselves. So
what sort of customer support do you all give to the people who buy, especially the Hummer EV? After the purchase, what sort of support and after-sale services do you all provide?
Look, it ranges by country. So, some of our countries in which we operate, we have partners in those countries who do a lot of the customer support and solve issues. Other customers come to us directly. So it sort of varies depending upon where the customer is and what we need to do. We have a dedicated team who lead that function. And on occasion, we do need to fly out and fix a vehicle. Sometimes it's our fault that we've done something wrong, not very often, or maybe it's the customer. I always like those moments because when we sort of have to go to the workshop or the engineering team and say, well, does anybody want to go to Malaysia for a week? There does tend to be 100 people who volunteer for the trip.
So anyway, as time is ticking, it has been a wonderful and insightful discussion, Rob, because the fact as I mentioned earlier, a foreign national coming here and taking that leap of faith in our community,
Indeed.
in our people, and also bringing in income to our economy and boosting the economy is quite revolutionary in one word.
Indeed.
I would call it.
Thank you.
And honestly, it's quite praiseworthy, as I mentioned. So I would like to ask you your closing remarks, your take-home message as we close for today.
Look, I think for me that the key is anything is possible in Sri Lanka. And I see it all the time. You know, we have a lot of international guests fly in to see us, but I see it when we have Sri Lankans that come into our facility and they're just simply blown away with what we do. And I guess that's my message, that there is no reason that Sri Lanka shouldn't be a world-leading nation, whether it's manufacturing or technology, etc., because everything is here, all the ingredients, plus the weather and the food and all the other bits and pieces. So the opportunities are there, people just need to seize it.
Do you think Sri Lanka has the capacity to be placed on the global map
Oh,
in
absolutely.
terms of the automotive industry?
Yeah, automotive and other areas, yeah, very much so. I mean, it's again, I come back to the people is the pivot point. You know, you can put any business anywhere on the planet. You know, my past history was in technology. You could do it anywhere, really. You train people. The unique thing that I have found being here for the last sort of 4 years is the people, and that's the most incredible advantage that Sri Lanka has over so many other nations on the planet. That sense
How much faith do you have in our Sri Lankan community? You could rate it from 1 to 10.
Well, so my community is my team of 185 people and the people in my circle, and out of 10 it's 11.
I think that sums this entire
Yeah.
conversation up.
It's 11. It's magical, it really is.
All right, Rob, on that note, I want to thank you on behalf of ITN for joining us today and
Thank you.
having this conversation. And we're looking forward to many more opportunities where you will bring in more changes,
Absolutely.
positive changes to our economy. And this is what we need, especially as a country at this moment.
True.
We're going through several major economic changes and developments. And the fact that you have so much of faith in our Sri Lankans is brilliant.
Thank you.
So thank you for joining
Thank
us
you for having
today
me.
and wishing you nothing but the best.
Cheers, thank you. Thank you.
So I was in conversation with Mr. Rob Hill, the CEO of Autogroup International. And that brings us to the end of yet another edition on the Spotlight. Join us again next week for a story that will ignite change. Until we meet again, stay safe and have a pleasant night.